So we're going to take a quick look at devolved government as part of the politics and participation materials for Paper 1, Section B of the GCSE Citizenship course. So the first thing about this is, what is devolution? So devolution is the transfer of power from a bigger body to a smaller one. So essentially a more powerful organisation giving some powers to a less powerful organisation. So within government, what we see is that often a devolved government is when the central government, the main government, will allocate some powers to smaller regions, smaller areas, to give them some self-control over their sort of management and how they're organised. So the devolved powers, these are the powers which central government give to other regions. So if we look at the examples of Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, they are devolved regions which have been given powers of self-government, self-control by the central parliament. A reserved power is something which the central government maintains and keeps control of. So we have a devolved power and a reserved power. Now, some of the key words we have here is tiers. So when we're looking at this, we're talking about the tiers of government. There are lots of tiers. So we have the higher levels, which would be international bodies like NATO, the UN, European Union. There are the central government bodies, that's Parliament. Devolved bodies, which would be Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. Then within those you have regional bodies like London and sort of different parts of the UK. There are sort of 12 key regions of the UK. And then you'll see at the very bottom sort of the unitary county district powers and tiers. We also have ultra vires, which is a Latin phrase for when part of the system will act beyond the legal powers or legal authority that it has. So again, none of these devolved powers can act beyond the powers they've been allocated. Within the UK, there are 3 tiers to government. So we have central government, as mentioned before, that's Parliament, that's the most powerful part of the UK political system. A devolved government would be Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland. They're the second most powerful. And the devolved powers we have often allow sort of control of education, of health systems, tourism, agriculture, water and flood defences. So often, again, these would be the devolved powers. And then local government at the very bottom here, this is again something we'll talk about a little bit later in a follow-up video. But again, this would be the county, borough, district, the councils that run a small local area. Regional control is kind of a slightly bigger issue. And again, you might have seen more about parish control, particularly with recent kind of videos about the parish council Zoom meetings. Devolution as a timeline, it kind of began in 1997 under Labour. So Labour agreed to increase the powers given to the different regions of the UK, so to Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales. By 1998, a referendum had been held in Scotland which voted for an establishment of the Scottish Parliament. And then following that sort of same process, Northern Ireland and Wales also established a sort of more localised parliament to run devolved matters. Arguments for and against devolution, so it's good for allowing local areas to have more control over issues that are affecting them. And it's not really practical for one centralised government to control every element of a country. So this is why it's quite handy to devolve powers and give some control and autonomy to regions. We've seen this recently with COVID and the way COVID has been managed by different regions, different devolved governments taking different measures to reduce and control the virus. Arguments against devolution would be stuff like how Scotland has its own parliament, but England doesn't. So England doesn't have its own parliament, it has central government for the whole UK. Scotland participates in votes in the central government, in Parliament in London, but they also have their own Parliament in Scotland where they can vote on decisions. And they can vote in different ways. So, for example, when UK raised tuition fees in 2011, Scotland voted on this, but then also Scotland was allowed to then return to its own Parliament and make its own decisions on university tuition fees and also made them free. So if one local government makes a decision, it can affect another area. So again, Wales could make decisions on how it will act as part of the devolved government that could impact on sort of the areas on the border of Wales and also affect parts of England. And obviously this can also create inconsistencies between governments, and that can also cause confusion, it can cause conflict with this inconsistency. And then finally, just thinking about devolution and Brexit, there was quite a lot of difference between the different countries. So for example, in terms of favouring Brexit, England and Wales voted in favour of Brexit, Scotland, Northern Ireland voted against it. So the devolution, the different regions voted differently. So this has led to some arguments about divisions in Britain, that this could lead to a disunited kingdom. And again, issues like devolution kind of feed into this. So for example, Scotland, Northern Ireland may want to become independent states in the future in order to be separate from the rest of the UK, and obviously potentially allow them opportunities to rejoin the EU. So there we have it. So devolution is quite a broad area. There's a lot of sort of different elements to this, but as I say, as a brief summary, hopefully this provides a little bit of an overview of what it is, and particularly the for and against. So if you were to have a question about devolution, I imagine a lot of the questions will either be identifying what it is, how it's done, why it's good, and why it's potentially problematic. Okay, thanks for watching, and I hope this has helped.